Hi, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Megan, and these are our crazy kids, Willa
and Julianne. And we're at our farm and homestead, Springforth Farm in Hurdle Mills, North Carolina.
This one's about to go down for a nap, so we're gonna say bye. Let go! Let go!
So when we moved out here, this was a blank slate, and we knew the first thing we needed to do was get a house, build a house. So we lived in a 77 square foot camper. The first 8 months we had no electricity or running water. After that we had electricity and a yard hydrant. And
luxuries.
Luxuries, oh yes. The real luxury was taking a hot shower in our house for the first time. The reason we did it that way, and this took 3 years, was because we wanted to build our house debt-free. That required us to live cheaply, to build the house ourselves, and to pay as we went. So it took us 3 years doing most of the work ourselves, living in this camper, to build the house debt-free, and also build up our farm at the same time.
Okay, and so the flower farm is really just a part of the whole holistic plan here. It's not like you have a farm and that's the thing, but the farm kind of supports the family life and the homestead.
That's really important to us. And we have clear goals that the farm pays for the homestead aspect and supports us having a high quality of life. So we were looking for a homestead business that would do that, with our main goal being to grow food for our family. So we grow all of the vegetables our family eats. We raise chickens, pigs, and I hunt venison. And so that provides all the meat for our family. One day, hopefully, we'll also have all the fruit that we need. That's a long-term plan. The main thing is that the farm then supports that aspect of our life.
Okay, and I think that's really cool as someone, as a family looking to bring farming into the family and have a business as well and part of the lifestyle. But also, you guys have other jobs?
Yeah, I'm a firefighter. Megan primarily focuses on the farm, but she has taught kindergarten when we were getting started before the farm income was enough to support.
Very cool. Well, a lot of cool stuff going on here. Let's go take a look around.
So we're over here in our hoop house. This is where the first structure we had. This is also where we grow our most high value and picky crops, just because the bigger space is more even temperature control and things like that.
Okay, and so what are the big differences between, or the benefits of having a tunnel like this, which has some automation and it's a lot beefier than, let's say, the Caterpillar tunnels?
The biggest advantage really is in quality of life.
Which can't be overlooked.
It can't, no, and we really try to build our farm business with that in mind. It's like, if we're not happy, this isn't sustainable. We really think sustainable farming isn't just about the environment, it also needs to be sustainable for the farmer. So that's really a big part of it. So, like I said, this big space has a more even temperature, which is really beneficial for the plants. But on top of that, it has automated drop-down curtains on the sides, which mean that we don't have to come out and constantly fiddle with it. We find that to be really helpful in the early spring. For example, in March, we could have a 60-degree partly cloudy day, or even a 40-degree partly cloudy day. 40 is a good example. We would need to drop the sides if the sun was out, and we would need to raise them, if the sun went behind a cloud. So it just does that on its own. And on top of that, this is a very strong structure we got from Morgan County Seeds in Missouri. It was recommended to us because they withstand some pretty strong storms in the Midwest. We've had 12 inches of snow on this tunnel a couple times, and we've never come out to knock the snow off. So we just know we can sleep easy at night with this tunnel. We don't have to worry about anything. So one of our goals, really for this property, our goal for our family was to grow as much of our own food as possible. And really, with the amount of space we have, you can grow so much food in that space. So we're standing in part of our vegetable garden right now, and we're able to grow all of the vegetables our family eats in a year. And of course, the tunnels do help with that, help us get some winter produce. But so we grow all of the vegetables that we'll eat. We grow some storage crops like sweet potatoes, onions, garlic, carrots. But then you have to know which ones not to grow too. We don't have the right storage conditions for potatoes, so we grow a small amount to enjoy fresh, but we don't try to store those. We also get all of our own meat. We raise chickens with some neighbors. I really think that doing things in community with other people, is a great way to do things and to share the burden, share the work, and also build community. So we butcher 40 chickens twice a year. We each take half. I hunt venison, and then we also work with Dawnbreaker Farms, a local meat producer, to raise pigs in our woods. We have an arrangement where he covers the cost of the feed and the fencing. He helps move them. We take care of them on a daily basis, and then we get a share of pork for that. And that's able to provide almost all of the meat for our family for a year. And so, we're really able to feed our family in that way. That feels really good. And then with this amount of space, we also have a lot of produce to share, which we also love.
Did you guys grow up in this sort of living situation, or?
Not really. My mom had a big garden at sometimes, I think she would have wanted something like this, if she could have it. Megan also had a big garden, but it was big home gardens, and we grew up in this area, so we're sort of familiar with what was going on here. But neither of us had a farming background except for working on other farms, trying to figure it out. This is our wildlife pond. We actually got it when we built our big hoop house because we needed some soil to grade the hoop house with, and the grader said it would cost the same amount to bring in 2 dump trucks of soil or dig a pond and get the amount of soil that we needed. So that felt pretty obvious to us what we should do. This pond is fed by all of the drainage on our farm as well as the gutters on our roof. And as you can see, it's full of plants, frogs, insects. We were worried that when we built the pond, we'd just have a lot of mosquitoes. It's not too far from our house, and the mosquitoes, would bother us. In fact, I think we have fewer mosquitoes than before we built the pond, just because of their goldfish and all of the frogs. Every mosquito is going to come to a body of water to try to lay eggs, and if there's something there to eat it, it really keeps the population down.
Absolutely beautiful. I love the integration. I think it's a really pretty spot on the farm.
So, yeah, we love it. The fencing is to keep our toddlers out. We look forward to a time when we don't have to worry about them walking into the pond and we can take the fencing down. But for now, just creating a safe space, like with the deer fence, we can close off the road. The pond is fenced and there's nothing else on the farm that they can get hurt on. And so we just feel great letting them go and run anywhere.
I love the pond, and the other thing is this pollinator garden behind you is another one of these beautiful things on the property. Can you talk a little bit about what's going on here?
Yeah, we really wanted a garden of native pollinators, both as a beautiful space for us and because, the whole farm is one system. A lot of the wasps and stuff that pollinate these flowers also prey on garden pests and caterpillars. So this is our garden made up of natives to the area, almost all perennials, and we just really love it. We sit in the window, look out, all the goldfinches eating the seeds and the butterflies. It's one of our favorite places on the farm.
It looks awesome, especially next to your beautiful house.
Thank you.
One of the coolest things I think about your story is that you came onto this property and kind of built this whole thing essentially debt-free and sort of worked your way into it. And so how does the flower farm fit in with the homestead plan?
Yeah, so we knew we wanted to have a homestead. And we were looking for a business to support that, so that just to pay for the inputs and the infrastructure and all of the things that you need, to make that big garden work. And so we had a few different ideas, but eventually we settled on flowers. And We started out growing very small. We kept adding fields, adding beds, and it just grew to a point where it wasn't the small homestead business that we wanted anymore. So we were looking for ways to scale back. So we've always sold to florists, as wholesale. So the first thing we did was we eliminated all of our other sales channels. So the only thing we were doing was selling wholesale to florists, which is just, for all you flower farmers out there, really recommend looking into that. The other thing we did once we built our tunnels, our caterpillar tunnels and our big hoop house, was we only sell spring flowers now. In this area, in North Carolina, we've got hot summers. Like, there are no weddings or events in the summer. And weddings and events are really what drive the demand for flowers. So it's early September. We're about to start planting flowers now that we're going to harvest in the spring. We'll start selling flowers whenever they start blooming, February or March. And then by the middle of June, we'll be completely done selling flowers. We'll have July and August just completely off on vacation, and then we'll start up again in the fall. We're never ready for it to start up, but we can always see it coming.
I think it's really fascinating for a couple of reasons. One, I like to talk to growers about summer strategies, because it's getting more and more challenging to grow in the summer. But it sounds like it was kind of determined for you based on the market.
It was, and I think now flowers, the seasonal demand for flowers is going to be different depending on where your farm is located. So that was what worked for us here in North Carolina. But we make more money selling flowers in the spring just because of the demand and the types of flowers we can grow. And we have such a small farm that to have flowers through the summer meant we had to hold back space from growing spring flowers that we could have been selling. And so it just didn't make any sense, besides the fact that we were just getting too burned out and stressed, and we would have really, if this hadn't worked, which is working fantastically, but if it hadn't worked, we probably wouldn't be farming right now. Just when we're at the point where the farm was interfering with the other goals we had in life, but right now it's really complementary. It's working great. So right now, you're looking at our farm and you can see how small it is. We're really passionate about physically small farms. We grow on about a ½ acre, and that includes all of the aisles, walkways, roads. Our cash crop production is on 19 covered beds and 4 beds in the field, and the rest of the space we use for crop rotation, growing vegetables for our family.
So why do you think that the smaller farm size is better and more efficient? Why do you think that? Why was that the case?
Yeah, there's a couple things. One is we really feel like sustainable farming needs to include being sustainable for the farmer. If you're running yourself ragged and get burned out and quit, that's not a sustainable farm. And we were in that position. And we simplified our sales channels to where we're only selling wholesale. We shrunk our farm size and we stopped growing in the summer, and now it feels sustainable for us. If we hadn't done those things, we wouldn't be farming right now. The other thing that I really like about it is it opens up more land for farming. So while we have more land here that we could turn into production, like you grow in a city, and that could be an unproductive lawn.
Absolutely. You don't need a lot of space.
You don't need a lot of space, and this sort of revolution in farm thinking that I think has happened, over the last several years about smaller farms, micro farms. Like I said, we have about a ½ acre. We think maybe a ½ acre or less would sort of fit into this micro farm category, where it can be supplemental income for your family, doesn't have to be everyone's full-time preoccupation. And I think the growth in that sector of farming has a real potential to build resilient food networks. Thinking about the disruption to the distribution of food that happened during coronavirus, figuring out how to grow food in cities or in neighborhoods, I just think would be a great way forward. We've also noticed, for our part, every time we simplify, every time we cut out a sales channel, every time we shrink and focus more on what we're doing, that we focus on what's profitable, what's productive, what's manageable, our quality of life goes up and our profitability goes up. And sometimes, even when we shrink, our gross sales go up. Just that focus, I think, is something that's easy to lose if you're doing too much at once.
And I think your family and your business is a great example of that, because you're balancing, your family, your kids, you're growing your own food. You also have a job, but it's working because of this intensive and deliberate growing strategy you guys have.
Yeah, thank you. We feel pretty passionately about that, and we have shared that in an online course called the No-Till Microscale Flower Farm, which is available at the Gardener's Workshop. I can put a link.
Cool, we'll put links down below
Yeah.
for that and all of your contact information. All right, so Jonathan, thanks so much for showing us around today.
Yeah, thank you.